Welcome to Jacked Up Politics, and today, June 12th, 2024, my name's Jack. I'm a government and political science student in UCC, and this is your weekly update on the MEP elections in Dublin. So we'll start off the episode by just mentioning that yesterday we have seen the final seat being elected for the Dublin MEP constituency, with the seat going to Labour's Aidan O'Riordan, who was elected on the 19th count, and is now deemed the fourth member of the Dublin MEP constituency. The other the other elected members from this constituency in highest preference to lowest preference was Regina Doherty with over 77,000 votes for Fine Gael, Barry Andrews for Fianna Fáil with 76,881 votes, followed then behind by Sinn Féin's Lynn Boylan on 68,235, and finally Aidan O'Riordan with 63,526. Aidan O'Riordan beat out the next closest rival, Niall Boylan from Independent Ireland, by over 13,000 votes, with Mr Boylan receiving 50,416 votes. What we've seen in the Dublin constituency is a 50-50 split of 50% left, 50% right-wing parties, or with both Sinn Féin and Labour picking up a seat in the Sinn Féin retaining a seat and Labour actually picking up a seat. Unfortunately, the two incumbents for Dublin had lost their seats, these being Ciarán Cuffe and Claire Daly. Claire Daly losing her seat should not come as a surprise to many, as Miss Daly was a very divisive character in Irish and European politics. She was very pro-Putin, and I think this kind of went against her in quite a lot of ways. I know she voted in favour of Russia in quite a few European Parliament votes, and I think a lot of citizens in Ireland had done their research and were not happy about this fact. Also, it has to be mentioned as well that Ciarán Cuffe fought an absolutely brilliant race and finished was finished in 6th place. So I think he deserves every bit of commendation for that. He ran an excellent race, but unfortunately luck wasn't on his side in this time. We also saw that the reason Aidan O'Riordan did so well is he got quite a lot of votes from Ciarán Cuffe and from Breed Smith, as well as Sinead Gibney, that brought him over the line. And I think that is a very good thing, that it shows that the left-wing parties were kind of willing, had a lot of transfers in between each other. And even on Virgin Media's Tonight Show last night, even Holly Cairns and Nessa Horgan from the Green Party were both discussing at length that they believe there needs to be a transfer left pact for the upcoming general election. And I think that is a very true thing to say, that we do need to kind of be focusing a little bit more on the left-wing parties kind of consolidating their base, but also we need to watch out for the likes of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael consolidating their base as well, I think we're coming into I think we're coming back to a more centrist position in politics, if I'm to be perfectly honest with you. I think kind of we voted in Barry Andrews is and Regina Doherty in terms of their political positioning on their left-right spectrum. Both Andrews and Doherty will kind of be slightly right of centre, whereas Boylan and O'Riordan would be slightly left of centre. So if you think about it, that kind of balances it out and kind of keeps the ship on an even keel per se. So kind of in terms of left-right balance, I think that's kind of worked out pretty well there for the Dublin region. The votes for the South region and the Midlands North West constituency are still ongoing. There's only been one MEP elected in Ireland South, and that is Sean Kelly for Fine Gael. The counts in these are still ongoing, so we'll be keeping you up to date on that as of tomorrow. The other constituencies, being Ireland South and Midlands North West, are still undergoing are still having their counts, and it's looking like, and I can tell you, for Fine Gael, it was the swing has actually gone against them, and they are actually down 8.8%. Fianna Fáil are actually up 3.8%. Sinn Féin are up 7.5%. And the Greens are down 6%, and Independents for Change are down 2.8%. Whereas Labour and the Soc Dems are up. For Labour, they were up 0.3%, and the Social Democrats are up 2.8% in the swing. In terms of the parties that are going to be represented, you'll have the European People's Party, which Fine Gael will be aligned with. Then you'll have the left in the European Parliament Party, which Independents for Change, Sinn Féin and the Independents are all a part of. Now, the difference between Independents for Change and a normal independent is Independents for Change is a far left-leaning political party, and they're very similar to People Before Profit in terms of ideology and so on and so forth. In this election, we also saw that, or going into this election, we also saw in Dublin that Frances Fitzgerald, who had been the Fine Gael MEP for Dublin, who was elected in 2019, had decided she was going to step down. And also Colin Murphy for the Midlands North West decided he was going to step down, as well as Deirdre Clune for the South constituency. It's very interesting to see that in terms of the candidates in the Midlands North West, that Maria Walsh is actually leading that election, and she stands to be, more than likely will be probably the first to be elected in the Midlands North West. It'll be very interesting to see who else gets in the Midlands North West, and very also in the South. I also believe we'll probably see a very tightly contested race for Ireland South as well, with only 3 seats left. Now, if I was to pick the three other candidates for Ireland South, I would reckon we're probably going to see Billy Kelleher getting in. He's already an incumbent MEP for Ireland South, so it's very hard for an incumbent to be knocked out, unless people aren't happy with the party they're a part of, or unless they haven't done enough to for people in that constituency. Billy Kelleher, to his credit, has done quite a lot for Ireland South as an MEP. So and the Fianna Fáil vote in Cork is strong enough, and in the South, to have him re-elected. Also, another candidate I could actually see coming up behind him is Clare TD Michael McNamara, who has proven very, very popular and runs on a kind of a centrist, centre-left basis. Well, mainly more centrist, but McNamara I could actually see becoming the fourth candidate. So that kind of leaves us with 1 seat. And who do I think would get that? I'd like to say I'd see Grace O'Sullivan getting it, but I actually don't think that's going to happen. If I was actually going to pick someone, I actually think it'll be Kathleen Function in Sinn Féin. So I actually reckon we'll see the two of them getting the other 2 seats. And while I am very sad that we'll see Grace O'Sullivan losing her seat, I think it's very reflective of what's going on in the Green Party in Ireland at the moment. You know, they've kind of chosen an urban green policy that hasn't worked in their favour. I know they're very kind of limited by what Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael decide, but, you know, when you're a coalition partner, you do have to stand up to your other coalition partners and kind of say, look, lads, we really want to get this done, we really want to get that done, but they haven't done that, and I think that's kind of gone against them a small bit. And I know, talking to two Green Party members the other day, they were saying to me, look, Jack, we're constantly nagging our coalition partners to try and get public transport legislation, green power legislation across the line, but they just don't want to listen. You know, and I think a lot of people don't seem to realise that as well, is that, like, while the Green Party are going to get absolutely decimated in the next general election, I'm under no illusion about that, by people protest voting the Green Party, you're actually losing a very valuable voice in the Dáil chamber in terms of environmental protection issues, environmental sustainability, pushing for renewable energy production and a better public transport infrastructure. I will give Eamon Ryan credit where credit is due, that the Green Party have, for the most of their tenure while in government, tried to improve public transport by, look, they've tried to bring in cleaner public transport in terms of electric buses across the country. They've committed to electrifying the Cork Urban Rail Network, which, you know, that's not a bad idea, because the Cork Urban Rail Network is one of the busiest rail networks in the country, so that's a very good idea. And I also reckon that we kind of need to have a big think about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael going forward. Now, don't get me wrong, they represent a good chunk of the population and we can't disregard that, but I think if Ireland really wants to be carbon neutral by 2050 and wants to provide better public services and better functioning public services, I think we do need to kind of transition away from a more fiscally conservative and monetarily conservative policy to a more kind of economic liberal policy and fiscally liberal policy, you know, and I think that needs to be taken into account as well. Now, in terms of the Midlands North West, who do I think is going to get in there? I reckon we're probably going to see Maria Walsh being re-elected, right? I'm under no illusion there. Luke Ming Flanagan, I think he's going to get re-elected as well for one reason alone, is Luke Ming Flanagan, despite what people think about him, he's a fantastic MEP, you know. He's worked extremely hard since he was elected in 2014, and I think he has done fantastic work for the Midlands North West as an MEP, you know, and I think as well is he kind of represents kind of a lot of people that feel disenfranchised, and I think that's very important as well. Now, I also think we're going to see Barry Cowan getting elected, who is the brother of former Taoiseach and leader of Fianna Fáil, Brian Cowan. For those of you who don't know, Barry Cowan is one of 3 Fianna Fáil candidates being run in the Midlands North West constituency. You also have Lisa Chambers, who's a sitting senator, and Niall Blaney, who's also a senator, running. So you have 2 Fianna Fáil senators running against a Fianna Fáil TD. And I reckon Cowan is going to get in because he's a lot better known than what Chambers and what Blaney are. So my reckoning will be that you'll have a kind of government heavy election premise in the Midlands North West, with 1 Fine Gael and 2 Fianna Fáil, and then you'll have Luke Ming Flanagan as the left-wing candidate being elected in the Midlands North West. An interesting tidbit here, folks, is that Kieran Mullooly for the Independent Ireland and Peadar Tóibín for Aontú have actually done quite well, you know. They've actually come up and they've actually done quite well for themselves. And, I think we kind of need to have a good long think about that as well, So I think that's kind of going to be an interesting one. And I think that's going to be a very, very interesting constituency, because there's 5 seats in that constituency as of 2024. So if I was going to go for the 5th seat, I reckon we will probably see. So I reckon we will probably see. So I would actually think Kieran Mullooly for Independent Ireland would actually be the 5th candidate based on his polling alone. They're already into the 10th count in the Midlands North West, so I reckon by the end of today, we may actually see candidates reaching quota and being elected in the Midlands North West. And I actually think that we will probably see, I'd like to say we'll see Nina Carberry in there, but being honest, I reckon it would actually be it's still anyone's race at this stage, because the only one that's out in front is Luke McFlanagan at over 80,000 votes, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are kind of all around the 70,000 marker, with Barry Keoghan being around 74,000, Nina Carberry being around 75,000 and Maria Walsh being around 73,000. So if you take that those three get elected, right, that gives you your 3 candidates there. That will be your right-wing candidates. And then you have Kieran Mullooly from Independent Ireland then, and he's going to... I reckon Kieran Mullooly will actually... for anyone who doesn't know, Kieran Mullooly is a former RT News correspondent. And I actually think he could actually become the 5th seat in the Midlands North West. In terms of Ireland South, then I think that is still very much to play for. I think that's going to be an interesting one, because Ireland South is a 5-seater. So, in terms of that, we're already into the coming into the 10th count today. And like I said to you earlier, my theory is that you're going to see Billy Kelleher getting elected either today or tomorrow, along with Michael McNamara. I would also think we might see Fianna Fáil's Cynthia Ní Bhurcú getting elected as well. Now, I'd like to think I actually don't think we'll see Mick Wallace getting re-elected. Even though he's gotten 56,000 votes, I think he's very kind of transfer toxic. So I don't think we'll see him getting many more votes. I actually reckon what we'll see is if Grace O'Sullivan gets eliminated, we could actually see her, because at the moment we have Lorna Bogue is the lowest polling candidate at the moment that's not been elected yet. And she is on 10,826 votes. I reckon a lot of her votes could actually go to Paul Gavin in Sinn Féin and Kathleen Function in Sinn Féin as well. So I reckon they could be split there. I reckon you're going to see... I reckon you're actually going to see Eddie Punch being eliminated today, along from Susan Doyle, with the Social Democrats being eliminated today. Or tomorrow, unless transfers go their way. Niamh Horrigan, I could actually see her picking up quite a few left-leaning votes, so that could actually put her ahead of Wallace. And I'd love to see that happening. I'd love to see a Labour candidate getting in ahead of Mick Wallace, because I think he's abhorrent. I think he's I don't think he's best for representing Ireland at the moment in terms of European politics. because he has been very kind of Putin friendly in a time when Russia is on the attack, and I just don't think that's a good idea, you know. So I think we're going to kind of see I actually, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I actually don't think we're going to see John Mullins getting elected either. I just don't think there's enough of a right transfer. I just don't think he's transfer friendly enough to get enough votes to get him over the line either. So for today, the predictions are that Billy Kelleher will get over the line with a lot of his transfers going to Michael McNamara, and so I reckon we'll probably see Billy Kelleher and Michael McNamara maybe getting elected today or tomorrow. I don't think we'll see Cynthia Ní Mhurchu getting elected, because I reckon once we start seeing a lot more left candidates getting transfers, I actually think we could either see Kathleen Funchion getting elected and maybe even Niamh Horgan, you know. And if we get 2 Labour MEPs, folks, for Ireland, that would be fantastic, because the Labour Party and the Social Democrats are very kind of similarly aligned in terms of their kind of policies and the way they kind of vote. And I think we're going to kind of see them picking up kind of a lot of transfers as well. So that's another theory I have as well. So that is pretty much my take on the European elections for this morning. With Dublin now, the elections in Dublin now concluded for the European elections let me start that again. The elections for the Dublin constituency in the European elections now concluded. I reckon we're going to see things starting to move pretty fast in Midlands North West and Ireland South. Dublin is actually, even though Dublin is kind of denser in terms of population density and its surrounding region, that's only a 4-seater, whereas Ireland South and Midlands North West are both 5-seaters. So that'll be very interesting to see. Now, as I've said, I reckon Michael McNamara going to get elected today. Billy Kelleher going to get elected today. I reckon but before Friday we'll probably see Kathleen Funchion getting elected. I hate to say it, folks, but I don't think May Wallace will get re-elected. I just think once left transfers start coming in, he's going to get turfed out and we're going to see someone else get in his place. In terms of Ireland, and just to reiterate with Midlands North West, I think we're going to see Kieran Mullooly, Nina Carberry, Maria Walsh getting elected. We're going to see Barry Cowan getting elected up there, you know. So along with Luke Ming-Flanagan, so that's your 5 there. You know, so I think that's going to be a very interesting one for Midlands North West as well. And the thing is they'll be taking their seats in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be a very interesting start to the European Parliament. So that kind of concludes the European segment this morning. For those of you who weren't watching last night, Virgin Media had a very interesting program it was a very interesting segment on the Tonight Show last night. And Deputy Holly Cairns, leader of Social Democrats, was on, and Nessa Horgan, TD for the Green Party, was on, Claire Mulran from Sinn Féin was on. Jesus, can't be getting that wrong. And you also had Jack Chambers for Fianna Fáil on. And they were all discussing, they were talking about how the local election is going to actually impact their performance in the general election. And what was very interesting to hear was, while Sinn Féin have increased their number of seats, their percentage gain is actually down on 2019. Now, Sinn Féin up until this point had been very, very quiet. On their Sinn Féin had been very, very quiet leading into the local elections, which for a political party on the run up to any election is not a brilliant idea. However, I think Sinn Féin are currently licking their wounds and kind of debating on where they need to go next from here. I think we're going to see probably a lot of rehashing of policy by Sinn Féin. They're going to try and come up with some plan now, because like we all know, general election is going to happen pretty soon, and it's going to be an interesting one, folks. There's no doubt in my mind that that's going to be a very, very interesting one. I think we're going to see the general election actually going against the government, and I actually think we're going to see while up until the local elections, I would have actually said Labour were dead in the water. I actually don't know anymore after them winning the European election, or winning that last European election seat in Dublin, and them actually doing quite well in the locals. You know, they've managed to retain most of their seats and pick up a few. So I actually would not discount Labour anymore. I think Labour now are, like, I could be still too early to tell, but my thinking would be we could actually see the Soc Dems and Labour working very closely together to kind of form a left-leaning alliance along with the Green Party. But I think in order for that alliance to work with the Green Party, I think they need to get rid of Eamon Ryan. Eamon Ryan is contaminated by previous Green Party policy failure in the 2008 election, when he was part of Brian Cowen's coalition government with the Green Party, which was disastrous. It resulted in quite a lot of economic downturn in the country, which actually forced quite a lot of which forced unemployment up. So I think, you know, by having Eamon Ryan still in charge of the Green Party nearly 20 years later, well, yeah, over 15 years after the economic downturn, because he replaced John Gilmore in the Green Party. You know, I don't think Eamon Ryan was actually the right person to lead the Green Party, because he's very urban green when you need someone that's kind of rural green and kind of understands the rural issues of what farmers need and what people living out in the sticks need. Because if you think about it, folks, the south and southeast of Ireland, or sorry, the southeast, the east are the most heavily populated and most densely populated part of the country. Whereas when you start going more westwards, you know, you're starting to get into kind of a lot more rugged land. You know, it's starting to become very kind of sparsely populated and stuff. And those are the people who would actually need a good public transport net, but they don't have it. So the common train of thought would be that before we can actually see the Green Party resurge again after this, we actually need to see Eamon Ryan go. You know, I think Eamon Ryan needs to be replaced as leader of the Green Party, because I just don't think he's cutting the mustard anymore, you know. I think he's a bit disingenuous with some of the policies he's trying to bring out and some of the stuff he's come out with already. I think it's been very disingenuous, and it's kind of hurt the Greens in a substantial fashion. You know, we've seen they did very, very poorly in the local elections. They're probably going to lose both their European election seats, which is very disheartening to see. But, you know, when you have a party that's basically not, how do I put this now, that they've not really flourished like they should have, then, you know, you have to look at upper management. And if it means Eamon Ryan has to go, it means he has to go. But I just think we need a bit more common sense when it comes to green policy in Ireland. And I don't think Eamon Ryan is that common sense voice. You know, I think the Labour Party and the Social Democrats have done more for green policy than what the Green Party, who are supposed to be the ones that come up with green policy, have, you know. Now, I could, like, this isn't me bashing the Green Party at all. It's me basically just calling it as I see it. And I think, folks, for the most part, I think Eamon Ryan is going to cause the Green Party to lose a lot of gains and progress they've made over the last 15 years. And I think that's all on him, you know. And while this podcast is kind of my own personal apolitical opinion, this kind of opinion is kind of more kind of related to the fact that I do think there is going to have to be a shake-up in the Irish political establishment. And I think that shake-up is going to be the Green Party losing quite a lot of seats in the next general election. So, this has been the Jacked Up Politics episode for today, the 12th of June. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or Spotify. You can find us on the Jacked Up Politics podcast on Facebook and on Twitter and on Threads. And if you have any questions in the meantime, folks, please feel free to message the Facebook page and drop your questions below, and we'll be happy to get along to them. And also, folks, I just want to say thanks very much for listening to all the episodes so far, and we'll continue to bring you up-to-date political content, and we will see you tomorrow for tomorrow's episode. And later today, I know I promised it yesterday, but we'll actually be releasing the Kieran Corla episode today as well. So, folks, until tomorrow, this is Jack signing off for Jacked Up Politics. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Adios. Au revoir. Shlong before, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.